Oh, Nick Unleashed. What Nick Unleashed is, it's going to be a weekly segment where I talk about some things that are on my mind that maybe you don't know affects building wealth through real estate, affects the housing market, affects home pricing, affects anything that has to do with mortgage or real estate or building wealth in America. So what's our topic this week? It's illegal immigration. Wait, what, Nick? Why are we talking about this on the Lone Guys podcast? Isn't this supposed to be a podcast that discusses how to build wealth through real estate? Yes, that's exactly what this podcast is. And it would be irresponsible of us not to talk about the negative effect that illegal immigration, or as some like to call them, undocumented people or undocumented workers, the effect that they have on affordability, workers' wages, home prices, availability of homes. I'll even argue that we're talking about this because we're the only responsible mortgage company, because I haven't seen any other mortgage company come out and tell you, the American people, hey, listen, this may not be good. It is almost embarrassing. If these other companies, such as a Movement Mortgage or a Fairway Mortgage or any of these big organizations, even the wholesale lenders that we work with, if they truly care about you, the working class people, they should be trying to educate you. And they have much bigger platforms than we do. Much bigger platforms than we do. They should educate you on the effect of the policy that these politicians put in place. And this isn't a left versus right thing, which we will get into. Because on the left, you know who the president in the past 30 years, really history, the president that deported the most people who were here illegally is President Barack Obama. So it's not left versus right thing. And it's actually funny to me because the left right now is coming out and saying, hey, we need to do something as far as allow them in. And there's a big push from the super far left to allow people in illegally. They're calling it asylum. That's not good for you, the working class people. But the left has always stood for the unions and driving of wages up and so on and so forth, right? So the reason I'm talking about this, when it might make you uncomfortable and it might make my business partners uncomfortable and might make people on the floor uncomfortable, I don't know. I don't care. But I do know this. I founded the company MBI Financial LLC because I was sick and tired. I was sick and tired of having to drive business to a certain lender who I worked for at the time, who had the highest interest rates in the market. And they kept telling us in our sales meetings over and over and over and over, hey guys, I know we're priced way out of the market, but you still need to call your partners. You still need to bring in business. You still need to convince them that we're the best or the only option for them, for their clients, because of X, Y, and Z reason. When we all knew what the truth was at the time, my company was going through a merger. My company was going through a merger, and they had a bunch of what they called, quote unquote, fat. I called those workers from two different companies, and some of them had the same jobs, and some of them lost those jobs because this person was there longer, or this person was favored by this leadership, or this person was more productive in this system, or whatever. So we had to, well, they, quote unquote, cut the fat. We had to continue to drive business as a sales team. Fast forward a couple months, my conscience got to me, and I said, I'm sitting here I believe in America. I believe in the American dream. I believe in American home ownership. And I think home ownership is a secondary aspect of the American dream. I think that entrepreneurship is the American dream because it allows anybody to build wealth and be able to buy a home here in America. There's not property rights in a lot of other countries. With that being said, my conscience got the best of me. I said, am I being true to my love for country? And the answer was no. The only way I knew to combat that was to resign from my job and to start MBI Financial Group, LLC, which I then convinced Ben to found the company with me. And here we are. We're trying to help people. So let's look at some of the facts, right? So the facts on illegal immigration are this. The pandemic had a major effect. From 2017 to 2022, the amount of families in the U.S. increased by over 3 million. However, new home starts or new builds, they weren't being built fast enough to keep up with the increased demand. During the pandemic, interest rates then hit an all-time low. You guys remember, many of you out there are in the lowest rates that you'll ever have in your life, that we may ever see in the history of the United States again. So they hit an all-time low, which drove up demand for purchasing more properties. I think this is around the time that companies like BlackRock started buying single-family residences. And you guys can fact-check me on that. Please do. Was BlackRock buying single-family residences up left and right in story and headline after headline after headline during the pandemic years of 2020 through 2022? I think they may have been. But Fact check me, please, and tell me in the comment section if I'm right or wrong. But it drove home prices up. Why did it do that? Because guess what? Money was cheap, supply was low, demand was high. It's simple economics, supply and demand. At the same time, because of the pandemic, asylum seekers, which we have legal asylum here in the United States, and you have to apply for it, you have to get vetted, and so on and so forth. We have legal asylum, I should say, in the United States, right? So if you apply through it and go through the methods, great. Come to America, work hard, live the American dream like pretty much the founders of the country, right? We were all immigrants at one point. But that asylum seeker, it increased. And then you started seeing caravans. You see these caravans of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people coming across the border, flooding across the border. They're coming from places like Guatemala. A lot of people think, oh, well, they're coming from Mexico. They're not coming through Mexico. They're not coming from Mexico. They're coming through Mexico. So the asylum seeker number went up during the pandemic. People were trying to get here. More and more people were trying to get here. And at that point, the border policy or the border law was being followed, and there was the remain in Mexico, and there was less people coming across the border, and then the new administration got in, right? And the new administration, more and more people started coming across. However, because of the cheap money, the amount of people crossing the border, the amount of people who already had increased from an immigration status in this country, and the more families that there were, and the new home starts going down, supply and demand, simple supply and demand caused prices to skyrocket. If you owned a home, you created a lot of wealth for yourself from 2020 to 2022. There are people whose home prices went up by more than 150%. More than 150%. Here's the issue we're having, though, right? So prices have gone up. I believe they're going to continue to increase. Illegal immigration, the other piece with the illegal immigration, there's a bunch of studies on this, and we're going to post the studies in the subject matter to this video and to this podcast. It drives wages down. So if you look at the paper that is going to be, it was actually published by the Center for Research and Analysis on Migration. Here's a direct quote. The individuals who lose more from immigration are less educated native workers who rent their homes. What does that mean? Blue collar workers in America are more affected by illegal immigration. So I go back to what I mentioned, and the left was always pro-union, pro-increase of wages. Why is the left now arguing for, like AOC arguing for illegal immigration, saying we just need to document these workers? Well, guess what? There's also studies out there, Ben, and you look this up, that show that illegal immigrants, even once documented, are willing to take less pay, which then does what? It drives prices down. So home prices are going up because of illegal immigration and more families being here and being a higher demand. And working class Americans' wages are going down because of illegal immigration. So we're coming into this place where I call it the no return zone, where it's going to get bad for people trying to buy homes. So here's the other piece. And I keep going back. I mentioned AOC, right? Well, they want to argue that rich corporations are bad. If you're rich, you're bad. You're this, that, and the other thing. Yet defending illegal immigration helps who? It helps the rich corporations and business owners because they aren't losing. They get workers at a lower wages. So they can suppress the growth of wages here in America, which has been happening. And there's economic studies that I can post here in the subject of this video. It doesn't make any sense why any type of American politician who's supposed to be here defending the American people and represent the American people, why they would be okay to these open borders. It's economics 101, supply versus demand. It's a relatively simple concept. When demand increases at a faster rate than supply, the cost of the product increases. So let's take a look at Texas. There's a flood of people leaving states with high taxes, high crime, caused by bad policies, plus the illegals crossing the border at record numbers, and is projected to be somewhere close to 13 million by the end of President Biden's term in office. This has caused high home prices in Texas to rise dramatically, extremely high, right? So something like 13 million people in a 4-year span are going to cross the border. The scariest part about it, it's not like take out the cost of it, it's suppressing wages, take out the cost of it, increasing home prices. Let's just look at some of the people who crossed. Last month alone, 18 people on the FBI terrorist watch list were apprehended at the border. Those are just the ones that are caught. So here as an American, I need to think about my son, my daughter. I think about Mike's kids, Ben's future kids, everybody out here I care about. As a business owner, everybody in America I care about. I care about America. My family came over here from Italy. They were able to immigrate here and make great lives for themselves. I care about what this country stands for. I'm a natural-born American. And a lot of us natural-born Americans, we shut our mouths and we shut up and we became the silent majority. Well, guess what, people? It's time to stand up because we have to start protecting the ideals of this country because if not, there's not going to be a country and there's not going to be homes that are available for our kids.